Listen carefully. The difference between the person you admire and the person you pity is not talent. It's not intelligence. It's not even opportunity. It's consistency. The people who achieve greatness don't wake up every morning feeling like champions. They wake up and choose to act like champions. They've mastered the art of showing up, even when their emotions scream, stay down. Consistency is the key differentiator because it separates those who only dream from those who achieve. It's easy to get excited about a new goal or vision, but excitement is temporary. It fades quickly, leaving only discipline and commitment to carry you forward. Many people start strong, but lose momentum the moment they face resistance or discouragement. Consistency is the trait that keeps you moving forward when your feelings no longer align with your intentions. It is the quiet, steady force that builds strength, skill, and resilience over time, and it's often the invisible factor behind every visible success story. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a day and underestimate what they can accomplish in a year of focused consistency. They set massive goals and expect instant results, but real growth doesn't work like that. Growth is gradual, often imperceptible in the moment, but over time, those small, repeated actions create massive transformation. Consistency is what allows progress to compound like interest on an investment and turn small efforts into extraordinary results. The reality is, consistency is not glamorous. It doesn't always feel exciting or motivating. In fact, it often feels boring. But the people who win in life are the ones who've learned to master the art of repetition. They show up for themselves every single day, even when no one is watching and no applause is given. They don't need the validation of others to keep going because they understand that consistency is building something bigger than a moment. It's building a legacy. Consistency also builds trust within yourself. When you keep your word to yourself repeatedly, you develop confidence and integrity that cannot be shaken by outside opinions or temporary setbacks. Each time you follow through on a promise you made to yourself, you strengthen your belief in your ability to achieve your goals. This is why consistency is the true differentiator. It doesn't just build external results, it develops internal strength, which is far more valuable. The power of consistency is seen in every area of life. In relationships, consistent love and effort build deeper connections. In fitness, consistency creates lasting health. In business, consistent service and value build trust with customers. Every breakthrough you admire in others is the result of small, steady, disciplined actions taken over time. Consistency multiplies effort and makes even ordinary people extraordinary over time. Most people are waiting for motivation before they take action, but motivation is fleeting. Consistency doesn't wait for a perfect mood, the right circumstances, or ideal timing. It is a decision, a commitment, a non-negotiable part of your life. It's choosing to take action regardless of how you feel because your vision and purpose are greater than your emotions. That mindset alone sets you apart from the majority of people who quit when the initial excitement wears off. Another reason consistency is so powerful is that it creates momentum. The more consistent you are, the less energy it takes to keep going. At first, showing up every day feels like pushing a heavy boulder uphill. But over time, consistency builds strength, and the momentum you gain makes success feel inevitable. The habits you once had to force become second nature, and what once felt difficult becomes part of who you are. That is the secret to lasting transformation. Consistency is also the foundation for mastery. No one becomes great at anything overnight. Whether it's learning a skill, building a business, or developing character, greatness is forged through thousands of small, consistent actions. Every time you show up, you sharpen your skills, and increase your ability to perform at a higher level. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. The person who practices consistently will always surpass the person with natural talent but no discipline. The reason consistency stands out so much is that very few people are willing to commit to it. Most people want quick results and instant gratification, and when they don't see progress right away, they quit. Consistency requires patience, and patience is rare, but that's exactly why it is such a powerful differentiator. If you are willing to do what most people won't do, show up every day without seeing immediate results, you will achieve what most people will never achieve. When you embrace consistency, you become unstoppable because you're no longer dependent on external factors to succeed. You don't need perfect conditions, endless inspiration, or constant support to keep moving forward. You've trained yourself to keep showing up regardless of circumstances, and that makes you powerful. Consistency is not just a habit. It's a mindset, a decision that shapes every aspect of your life. It's the quiet force that will take you further than motivation ever could. Breakthroughs come from faithful repetition because success is rarely the result of one single action or one defining moment. It is the product of consistent, deliberate effort over time. The world often celebrates the end result, a person's success, their achievements, their mastery. But it often overlooks the countless hours of work, the repeated attempts, and the persistence that built the foundation for that success. Faithful repetition is the unglamorous but essential process that creates transformation. It is the daily commitment to improvement that compounds into extraordinary outcomes, and without it, breakthroughs remain out of reach. When you repeat a behavior, skill, or practice consistently, your mind and body begin to adapt. You grow stronger, more capable, and more confident with every repetition. At first, progress may be invisible, and this is where most people give up. They mistake the lack of immediate results for failure, not realizing that repetition is quietly working beneath the surface, preparing them for a moment of breakthrough. Just like seeds planted in the ground take time to sprout, your efforts must be faithfully repeated before they bear fruit. Faithful repetition is not about perfection. It's about commitment. When you repeat an action, you create neural pathways in your brain that strengthen over time, making that behavior easier and more natural. This is how habits are formed and how excellence is built. A person who trains consistently, practices deliberately, and refuses to quit will eventually see exponential growth. Each repetition becomes a building block, creating a solid foundation for bigger opportunities. Repetition also builds resilience. When you do something over and over again, even when it feels hard, you develop mental toughness. You learn to push past discomfort, self-doubt, and fear. Faithful repetition is not just about skill development, it's about character development. Every time you choose to repeat an action rather than quit, you are shaping yourself into someone who can handle more pressure, responsibility, and success. That is why breakthroughs often feel sudden, but they are never accidental. They are the natural result of perseverance. Many people quit because they underestimate the power of repetition. They believe that effort should always bring immediate results, but life rarely works that way. Growth is like a slow burn. It happens in the shadows, away from applause or recognition. The person who repeats the same positive behaviors day after day, even when no one is watching, will one day seem unstoppable. What others call talent is often just the outcome of relentless practice and dedication. Repetition is also a teacher. When you repeat a process, you learn more about yourself and your craft. You start noticing patterns, identifying weaknesses, and finding ways to improve. The repetition allows you to refine your strategy, sharpen your focus, and perfect your execution. Breakthroughs are rarely random. They come from understanding the small details that only reveal themselves after repeated practice. Faithful repetition creates clarity, and clarity creates confidence. Another powerful aspect of faithful repetition is that it builds momentum. The more you repeat an action, the easier it becomes to keep going. At first, starting a new habit or goal feels difficult because it requires energy, willpower, and intentional effort. But as repetition takes root, momentum begins to carry you forward. What once felt forced becomes automatic, and what once felt heavy becomes light. This is the secret to lasting success. You no longer rely on fleeting motivation because repetition has built a rhythm that keeps you moving forward. Breakthroughs often come at the point where most people would quit. There is a threshold you must cross, and faithful repetition is what carries you through that threshold. At first, it may feel like nothing is changing. You might question your progress and wonder if your effort is worth it. But if you stay faithful, if you keep repeating the right actions consistently, you will eventually experience a tipping point. That tipping point is what others will call a breakthrough, but it was built long before it was visible. Faithful repetition also creates a sense of mastery that cannot be faked. When you repeat something enough times, you develop an intimate understanding of it. You no longer just know it intellectually, you embody it. This is why athletes, musicians, entrepreneurs, and leaders spend countless hours practicing their craft. They are not seeking perfection for the sake of perfection. They are seeking confidence, control, and excellence that only comes from countless repetitions. This mastery becomes their advantage, separating them from those who dabble or give up too soon. Ultimately, faithful repetition transforms not only what you do, but also who you become. It shapes your identity because repeated actions reinforce your beliefs about yourself. When you faithfully show up and repeat a behavior, you begin to see yourself as someone capable, disciplined, and committed. That identity fuels your confidence, which in turn fuels even greater action. The cycle of repetition creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your actions build your belief, and your belief strengthens your actions, leading to a breakthrough that feels inevitable. Discipline over motivation is the mindset that separates those who succeed from those who only wish for success. Motivation is fleeting. It is based on emotion, and emotions are unpredictable. Some days you wake up inspired and energized, ready to take on the world. Other days you feel exhausted, unmotivated, and tempted to quit. If you rely solely on motivation to take action, you'll only work when you feel like it, and feelings are rarely aligned with your long-term goals. Discipline, on the other hand, is a decision, a commitment you make regardless of how you feel. It's the ability to act according to your values and vision, not your emotions. Discipline is what allows you to keep going when motivation fades. It's easy to start something new when you feel excited about it, but sustaining effort over time requires something stronger than emotion. Discipline is built through intentional practice. It's a muscle that grows every time you choose to act despite your feelings. When you make discipline a priority, you train yourself to follow through on your commitments. And over time, this becomes second nature. You begin to trust yourself because you know that you will show up no matter what. Motivation often depends on external circumstances. A motivational speech, a book, or a life event can spark energy, but that spark eventually dies out. Discipline is internal and unshakable because it comes from making a clear decision about who you want to be and what you are willing to do to get there. While motivation fluctuates with your environment, discipline stays steady because it is rooted in principle, not emotion. People who achieve great things are not necessarily more motivated, they are more disciplined. And that discipline carries them through the seasons when motivation is nowhere to be found. Discipline also creates structure, and structure leads to consistency. When you discipline yourself to follow routines, create schedules, and set clear expectations for your time and energy, you eliminate decision fatigue. You don't have to constantly ask yourself if you feel like working out, writing, or building your business. You simply do it because it is part of who you are. This level of self-mastery removes the emotional barriers that hold most people back, making your success inevitable over time. Choosing discipline over motivation also changes how you see challenges. Motivation often thrives in comfort. It's easy to feel motivated when everything is going well, but discipline thrives under pressure. It teaches you to keep going when life gets hard, when obstacles appear, and when everything in you wants to give up. It becomes your anchor, holding you steady in difficult seasons. This is why disciplined people are resilient. They've trained themselves to act regardless of circumstances, so adversity doesn't derail them the way it does for those who only act when inspired. Discipline requires sacrifice, but that sacrifice builds strength. Every time you choose to do what is necessary over what is comfortable, you strengthen your mental and emotional resilience. You become someone who doesn't need to be constantly inspired to take action. This ability to act without relying on emotion is a powerful skill that separates average performers from high achievers. It also builds confidence because you learn to trust yourself deeply. You know you are capable of following through even when it's hard, and that confidence compounds over time. Over-reliance on motivation can be dangerous because it creates a false belief that success should always feel good. In reality, success often feels uncomfortable because growth happens outside of your comfort zone. Discipline teaches you to embrace discomfort as part of the process. Instead of waiting to feel ready, you act, and that action creates momentum. Once momentum is built, discipline becomes easier because your habits are so deeply ingrained that you no longer need to negotiate with yourself to take the next step. Discipline is also empowering because it puts control back in your hands. Motivation is reactive. You feel motivated because of something external. Discipline is proactive. It's a decision to create your future through consistent action regardless of external circumstances. This shift in mindset is transformative because it removes excuses. You are no longer waiting for the perfect time or the perfect feeling. You act now because you have decided that your goals are non-negotiable. This level of personal responsibility changes the trajectory of your life. The most successful people in every field, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, leaders, are not constantly motivated, they are disciplined. They do the work when no one is watching, when they're tired, and when they'd rather be doing something else. This is why their results look extraordinary to others, but to them, it's simply the result of daily discipline. They've built systems and routines that make success a natural byproduct of their actions. They don't wait for inspiration, they create progress through consistency. Discipline over motivation is about building habits that align with your purpose. Once a habit is formed through repeated disciplined action, it no longer feels like a struggle. It becomes part of your identity, and identity drives behavior far more powerfully than fleeting motivation. By choosing discipline, you create a life where progress is inevitable because your actions are rooted in who you are, not how you feel in the moment. This is why discipline is the true driver of transformation. It creates a foundation that no amount of lost motivation can shake. Focusing on becoming rather than just achieving is the true essence of growth, because goals are temporary, but who you become in the process lasts forever. Many people set their eyes only on the outcome, on the trophy, the promotion, the recognition, or the financial reward. And while those achievements can be motivating, they are not what create lasting transformation. The real power lies in shifting your attention from what you want to get to who you want to become. When your energy is centered on becoming a stronger, wiser, and more disciplined person, your achievements become a natural byproduct of your growth, and success becomes sustainable rather than fleeting. When you focus only on achievement, you create a cycle of chasing results without true fulfillment. You may reach your goal, but if you haven't grown in the process, you'll find yourself feeling empty and unsatisfied, quickly moving on to the next goal in search of meaning. Becoming is about internal transformation. It's about building character, integrity, resilience, and wisdom. The pursuit of becoming changes your identity. You stop measuring your worth by what you accomplish and start measuring it by the person you are becoming along the way. This shift leads to deeper confidence and peace because your sense of purpose is no longer tied solely to accomplishments. Becoming requires a mindset of patience because growth is not instant. You can achieve something quickly through effort or strategy, but becoming someone of depth and strength takes time. It takes disciplined repetition and intentional action to change who you are at your core. This is why so many people chase achievement but struggle to maintain it. They have not yet become the person capable of sustaining that level of success. True success is not just reaching a goal, it's growing into a person who can carry that success with grace and responsibility. The process of becoming changes how you approach challenges. When your focus is only on achievement, obstacles feel like roadblocks standing in the way of your prize. But when your focus is on becoming, those same challenges become opportunities for growth. They are no longer setbacks, they are stepping stones that shape you into someone wiser and more capable. Every difficulty refines you, teaching you lessons that achievement alone could never teach. This is why growth-minded people often succeed in the long run. They see every experience as a chance to evolve, not just a chance to win. Becoming is also about character development. Achievement might bring external rewards, but character determines whether you can sustain and multiply those rewards. A person who achieves wealth without wisdom may lose it. A person who achieves influence without integrity may misuse it. The process of becoming ensures that you are ready for the blessings and opportunities that come your way. It develops humility, perseverance, and discernment. Instead of being defined by what you achieve, you are defined by the principles you live by and the values you embody. When you focus on becoming, you also find greater joy in the journey. If you are only focused on achievement, every day you haven't reached your goal feels like failure. But when you value growth, every step you take is meaningful because it's shaping you into the person you are meant to be. This perspective reduces frustration and impatience because you understand that the journey itself is as important as the destination. You are no longer racing against time, you are investing in your personal evolution. This mindset shift also leads to stronger confidence because your identity is rooted in who you are, not just what you do. Achievements can be temporary and circumstances can change, but when you focus on becoming, your confidence is internal and unshakable. You know that even if you lose everything, you have the skills, wisdom, and resilience to rebuild because of the person you have become. This is a deeper kind of success, one that cannot be taken away from you because it is woven into your character. Becoming is a lifelong process, not a single milestone. It's about learning, unlearning, and growing every day. It requires humility to recognize areas where you need to change and courage to take consistent action. Many people stop growing once they achieve a certain level of success, but true leaders and high achievers understand that the process of becoming never ends. They are always seeking to elevate their thinking, strengthen their habits, and deepen their understanding of themselves and the world around them. Another powerful aspect of focusing on becoming is that it shifts your motivation from external validation to internal fulfillment. When you are driven only by achievement, you are often seeking approval from others, applause, recognition, or status. But when you are focused on growth, your motivation comes from within. You are no longer competing with others. You are competing with who you were yesterday. This shift not only makes you more resilient, but also makes your journey more rewarding because your progress is no longer tied to anyone else's opinion. Ultimately, becoming is about alignment. It's about aligning your actions, habits, and mindset with the vision you have for yourself. Achievements are milestones, but becoming is transformation. Every day you choose to work on yourself, you are building a foundation for a life of purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. You are not just checking boxes on a list of goals. You are creating a new identity, a stronger version of yourself that can handle success, adversity, and everything in between. This is what makes focusing on becoming far more powerful than simply achieving. Progress, not perfection, is the mindset that allows growth to truly happen, because perfection is an illusion that keeps people paralyzed. Many people never start working toward their goals because they are waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan. They are the perfect circumstances. They are afraid of making mistakes or looking foolish, so they choose inaction over progress. The truth is that progress is messy. It involves mistakes, setbacks, and adjustments, but it is the only way to move forward. Perfection is a moving target that can never truly be reached, while progress is measurable and attainable because it focuses on consistent improvement rather than an impossible ideal. When you focus on progress, you allow yourself to learn and grow through experience rather than being stuck in analysis paralysis. Perfectionists often overthink every decision, fearing failure, and as a result, they miss opportunities to grow. Those who embrace progress understand that failure is not final, it is feedback. Each step forward, even if imperfect, teaches valuable lessons that refine your skills, sharpen your mindset, and prepare you for greater challenges. Progress is active, while perfection is passive, keeping you stuck in preparation rather than execution. Progress builds confidence in a way that chasing perfection never can. When you see yourself taking small steps and achieving incremental victories, you develop belief in your ability to succeed. This belief grows with every action you take, even if those actions are not flawless. Perfectionism robs you of this confidence because it focuses on what is lacking rather than what has been accomplished. Progress, on the other hand, allows you to celebrate wins along the way, reinforcing the idea that growth is happening and that you are moving closer to your vision. Perfectionism often leads to procrastination because the fear of not getting something exactly right stops you from even starting. Progress eliminates this fear because it shifts your focus from doing everything perfectly to simply taking the next step. That one change in perspective removes the heavy weight of perfection and replaces it with momentum. Once you start moving, you realize that mistakes are not the end, they are stepping stones. This shift in mindset creates a powerful sense of freedom, allowing you to act boldly without being paralyzed by fear of failure. Progress also creates resilience. Every time you take imperfect action, you learn how to navigate challenges, pivot when necessary, and keep going even when things don't work out as planned. This resilience is built through experience, not perfection. Perfectionists often lack resilience because they avoid failure at all costs, which means they also avoid growth. Progress requires you to face failure head on and see it as part of the journey. Over time, this builds a mental toughness that perfectionism can never provide. When you focus on progress, you stop comparing yourself to others and instead measure your growth against your own past self. Perfection is often rooted in comparison because it is based on unrealistic standards set by society or other people's achievements. Progress is deeply personal. It's about becoming a better version of yourself every day, not living up to someone else's expectations. This shift in perspective is liberating because it keeps you grounded in your own journey and prevents you from feeling inadequate just because someone else is further along. Progress also leads to mastery in a way that striving for perfection cannot. Mastery is built through repetition, experimentation, and gradual improvement over time. If you are constantly waiting to be perfect before taking action, you will never gain the experience needed to master your craft. The process of showing up consistently, making mistakes, and improving a little each day creates expertise. Those who achieve greatness are not perfect. They are persistent learners who embraced progress long before they were celebrated for their skills. Perfectionism kills creativity because it focuses on avoiding mistakes rather than exploring possibilities. Progress fuels creativity because it encourages action, experimentation, and learning through trial and error. When you remove the pressure to be perfect, you create space to innovate and try new approaches without fear of judgment. Some of the most successful ideas and breakthroughs come from people who were willing to take imperfect steps and refine their work as they went along. Progress opens the door to growth, while perfection closes it. Progress over perfection also creates consistency, which is the true driver of success. When you are focused on being perfect, every mistake feels like a setback, and that discouragement can lead to giving up altogether. But when you value progress, every action counts, even if it's small. Consistent action, even at a slower pace, produces far greater results than sporadic bursts of effort aimed at perfection. Progress rewards consistency because it compounds over time, turning small steps into major achievements. Finally, embracing progress over perfection creates a healthier relationship with yourself. Perfectionism often leads to self-criticism, anxiety, and burnout because you are constantly measuring yourself against an unattainable standard. Progress encourages self-compassion because it recognizes effort as part of growth. Instead of beating yourself up for not being perfect, you begin to appreciate the fact that you are moving forward. This mindset shift not only fuels long-term success, but also helps you enjoy the process, making your journey more fulfilling and sustainable. Taking immediate action is one of the most powerful decisions you can make because it eliminates hesitation and builds momentum. Many people spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment to start, but that moment never comes. They convince themselves they need more time, more resources, or more clarity before they take a step, yet this mindset keeps them stuck in the same place year after year. The truth is that clarity often comes from movement, not from overthinking. The simple act of starting, even in uncertainty, sets things in motion and gives you direction. Action brings answers that planning alone cannot provide. When you choose to take immediate action, you separate yourself from the majority of people who hesitate. Most individuals allow fear, doubt, and indecision to keep them trapped. But action has the power to break that cycle. Even small steps forward create a shift in your mindset. You stop seeing your goals as impossible dreams and start seeing them as attainable realities. Immediate action is the key to building confidence because every time you act, you prove to yourself, that you are capable of making progress. Confidence is built through doing, not just thinking. Taking action also helps you overcome fear. Fear thrives in stillness. The longer you wait, the louder your doubts become, and the harder it is to start. Action interrupts fear because it forces your brain to focus on execution rather than worry. Once you begin, fear starts to shrink because you've taken control. You realize that many of the obstacles you imagine were exaggerated in your mind, and by stepping forward, you've already defeated half the battle. This is why people who take action quickly often experience breakthroughs faster than those who spend endless time preparing. Waiting for motivation before taking action is one of the biggest traps people fall into. Motivation is unreliable because it is based on emotions, and emotions are constantly changing. If you wait to feel ready, you'll rarely take the steps you need to. Immediate action flips this dynamic. When you take a step, motivation follows. Momentum is a natural result of action. You start small, gain a little progress, and suddenly you feel more inspired to keep going. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. Taking action immediately also helps you build habits faster. Success is not the result of one massive effort. It's the product of consistent habits over time. But habits cannot form without action. By deciding to start today rather than tomorrow, you're laying the foundation for discipline and consistency. Every time you act, even in a small way, you strengthen the identity of someone who takes responsibility and gets things done. Over time, this identity becomes ingrained, making future actions easier and more natural. Immediate action also teaches you valuable lessons faster. Many people spend too much time researching and planning because they're afraid of making mistakes, but real growth comes from experience. The sooner you act, the sooner you'll learn what works and what doesn't. Every step you take provides feedback that planning alone cannot give you. This feedback is essential because it allows you to adjust and refine your approach, making you more effective in achieving your goals. Inaction delays growth, but action accelerates it. Another powerful benefit of taking immediate action is that it builds momentum in other areas of your life. Once you take action in one area, it creates energy and confidence that spill over into other areas. You begin to feel more in control, more productive, and more capable. This ripple effect often inspires even more action, creating a cycle of growth. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by everything you need to do, you start to see progress in multiple areas because you had the courage to take that first step without hesitation. Immediate action also sets you apart from people who live in procrastination. Procrastination is a silent killer of dreams because it convinces you that there's always more time. But every day you wait is a day you could have been building your future. By acting now, you take advantage of opportunities that others miss. You position yourself to grow faster, seize momentum, and create results while others are still thinking about starting. Action is a competitive advantage because so few people are willing to take it consistently and without delay. The decision to act immediately also changes how you see yourself. You stop identifying as someone who hesitates or makes excuses and start seeing yourself as a person of initiative and courage. This self-image becomes a source of strength. You trust yourself more because you know that when you decide to do something, you will follow through. That kind of trust in yourself is priceless because it eliminates self-doubt and builds an unstoppable mindset. Taking immediate action forces you to step out of your comfort zone, and this is where real growth happens. Comfort zones feel safe, but they also keep you stagnant. When you choose action over comfort, you stretch yourself and discover strengths you didn't know you had. You start to see challenges not as threats, but as opportunities to grow. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it begins the moment you stop waiting and start moving. Every bold decision, every step forward, and every action you take builds a future that hesitation never could.